this great game, and it's good fun as well. I hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome to Play Snooker. What we're going to try to do in this series is explain what snooker is all about, to encourage you to take up the game and to help you improve your approach and technique. And I have 4 friends here who have kindly agreed to help me out. Let's meet them. First of all, we've got schoolboy Craig Ruddock. Craig, how are you? Nice to meet you. How old are you, Craig?
16.
And how long have you been playing the game?
About 9 months.
9 months. And what's your highest break?
About 20.
About 20, that's not bad. Are you going to just show us what you can do, Craig? Have a go at what? The brown into the centre pocket, is it? Straight in the middle. That was absolutely perfect. We'll see you shortly, Craig. Thank you. And next we've got, all the way from Scotland, Matt Bradley. How are you, Matt? Nice to see you.
Thank you.
And how long have you been playing, Matt?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. I believe you took the game up after you had a little accident and broke your leg.
Yeah.
Is that right? You enjoying the game?
Brilliant.
Smashing.
Oh, look back.
Let's see what you can do. You're going to put the green away in the same pocket for us?
Yeah.
Just take your time. Well, that looks pretty good to me. A nice pause and all, so we'll see you shortly, Matt. Thank you. And now we've got a lovely young lady all the way from Hamilton, Nora Stella. How are you, Nora?
How are you?
Nice to see you. How long have you been playing?
About 5 years.
5 years. And what's your highest break?
33.
33. That's a nice figure. And what are you going to do? You're going to pop the blue for us, are you?
Support with moving in the
Just place it anywhere you like. Well, that looks perfect. Straight in the middle of the pocket. Thanks very much indeed, Nora. And last but not least, all the way from Lindsay, Walter Jones. Walter, how are you?
Fine, good.
And how long have you been playing?
Roughly 20 years.
20 years. That's not a Scottish accent. Where are you from, Walter? But you've lived in Lindsay for what, 20 odd years?
20 odd years.
And your highest break? 40. That's
It's a
not
long
bad
time
at all.
ago, mate.
Well, we've got the yellow left for you. Let's just see if you can slot the yellow into the centre pocket there. Well, just drifted slightly there, but that was close enough. We'll see you shortly. Thanks very much, Walter. Millions of people watch snooker on the television, and the reason it's so popular is it's quite simple to understand. You've got 22 balls on the table. You've got 6 coloured balls that have their own spots. First of all, we've got the yellow ball, which is valued 2 points, and this is the yellow spot here. The next colour is the green. That's valued at 3 points. It goes on this spot here. Next in line comes the brown ball. That's valued at 4 points, and it goes on the spot in the centre here. This is called the D area, by the way, the reason because it is shaped like a D. We go on to the next coloured ball. That's the blue, and that's valued at 5 points, and it's placed on the middle spot, right in the centre of the table. Then we go to the pink ball, which is valued 6 points, and it is placed just in front of the red balls. There is a spot there. The reds are in a triangle. They are moved right up to the pink without touching them. Then we go to the highest valued ball, which is the black ball. It's valued at 7 points. You've got 15 red balls, as I said, that are in the triangle. They're valued at 1 point each. And then the most important ball of the lot is the white ball, and that's called the cue ball. Now, to start a game of snooker, the white has to be placed anywhere in the D. You find most professionals will place it just next to the brown. The referee, in this case, would toss the coin up. Whoever wins the toss, he would elect to break. So the idea is to break the balls. You must make contact with the red ball. If you were to break off and make a bad shot or miscue or hit one of the colours, you would lose that value of points in a foul shot. So the idea is to break off, hit one of the red balls, and the game is then started. And the idea is to pot a red ball, which is valued 1 point. After you pot the red, you can take a choice of any colour on the table. You find most professionals and top amateurs try to get on the black ball all the time because it's valued at 7 points, and obviously you score more points. So after the 15 reds have been potted, as I say, you get 1 point for a red. If you should happen to pot 2 or 3 reds with one shot, that's quite legal. You would get the 2 or 3 points. But after the red, you must take a colour. And as I say, you get the value of that particular colour. At the end of the game, you finish off the colours in the sequence we mentioned: yellow, green, brown, blue, pink and black. And whoever has most points on the board wins the frame, and then you carry on to the next game. Well, that's taken care of the balls. Now to even a more important part of the game, and that is selecting a cue to play with. As you can see here, I've got a 2-piece cue with the joint 3/4 the way down the cue. You've got 2 types of cues. You've got a Nash cue, which this is made of, or a maple cue, which some professionals prefer to use. Now the one thing, when you're selecting a cue, if you go into a sports shop and buy the cue, make sure they'll let you have a go with the cue first, and if it doesn't suit you, you'll be able to change and try another one. If your local club happens to sell a cue, well, that's perfect, because they'll let you have a go on the table and then see how you get on with it. Doesn't matter how expensive or how cheap the cue is, it's just a personal choice. So you've got to, it's all about trial and error. And now we're going to have a look at our pupils' cues here. So as they come in, we'll just show you the type of cue they use. First of all, we've got Walter's cue here, and this is a 1-piece cue. This is a maple cue. Quite a good cue. I used to use a 1-piece cue, but the reason we switched to 2-piece cue was really convenience for carrying the cue around. I remember when I used to carry a 1-piece cue around in the early days when we played league matches. I had this great big thing in a case, sitting at the back of the bus, holding it up in the air. If someone got on the bus and the bus set off, he always used to grab my cue, so it was very embarrassing. But that's a 1-piece cue. And looking at Nora's cue here, this is ash, and it's got a joint in the middle, and this is a metal joint, as you can see, stainless steel I think this is. So some people use that. Also important, when you look down the cue, with a Nash cue there's a grain on the cue, so it's always nice to make sure that the grain's running the right way. We go on to Matt here, who's got a lovely cue. In fact, this is virtually identical to the cue that I've been using up until recently. As I say, I've been chopping and changing around a little bit. But this is a wood jointed cue, as you can see in the middle there. It's a wood joint which some players prefer to use because you get more of a sound like a 1-piece cue. And that's a lovely ash cue as well. So that's very nice. And then finally we go to Craig. And Craig's got a 2-piece cue as well here. And this is a metal joint in the middle. It looks like it's brass, this one. Yeah. And this, in fact, is just a brand new cue that Craig only got yesterday, I think it was. And he's got a name on it here, Stephen Hendry. He's not a bad player, is he? And just looking at the tip on Craig's cue here, if we just compare it to my cue, as you can see there, I've got a nice little dome on the tip of the cue because that's very important as well. Now Craig has got a flat tip, so that's sort of virtually out of the shop, and it's going to be difficult to play certain shots with that type of tip. So the ideal way is to have a dome on the tip. And just to show you how to dome the tip off, I've got a little implement here. All it is just a little bit of a plastic container with some sandpaper in it. And you can do this with a file, lump of sandpaper. In fact, going back, people used to do it with a box of matches, with a little rough piece of the box of matches. And what you do is you just run the sandpaper or the file, always keeping it going the one way, so as you don't break the fibers in the tip. Keep it going the one way, and eventually you'll finish up with a nice little dome. It'll just take you 5-10 minutes to do that. And now for a very important thing as well. If you were just to strike off and hit the white ball with the tip of the cue the way it was, it would slip off the ball and you'd make a foul shot. So you'll see the professionals, in fact before every shot, take the chalk out of their pocket, and you must put the chalk onto the tip of the cue. That stops you from miscuing. So nice little rub of chalk onto the tip, and you're ready for going. Chalking the tip helps it to bite on the cue ball so that you can avoid a miscue. Of course, if the chalk is too powdery, it doesn't stay on the tip so well. Actually, chalking your cue before each shot is a very good habit to get into. All the top players pay a great deal of attention to the tip of their cue, but until you're experienced, I wouldn't advise doing running repairs to your tip. Leave that to an expert. I'm now on to what we call the accessories. If you buy a table or go to your club to play on a table, you'll find all this gear with the snooker table. First of all, we've got the rest here, and you would use the rest should the cue ball finish in a knockout position. You can't quite reach it with the normal bridging. You get the rest out, and that becomes quite straightforward then. The next one we've got here is called the spider or the ball rest. And what would happen with this one, should the white ball finish in an awkward position, you can't get to it with a normal rest, you just get the spider out, and that takes you over the top of the ball that's impeding you. Then we go on from the spider to the extended spider or extended ball rest. And what would happen here, say you had another ball get into your way, so you've got to bridge a lot further. The extended spider just takes you over the two balls or whatever's in your way. And now we go on to what's called the half butts, and that's just to reach sort of 3/4 way up the table, and that gets you to the cue ball, should it be up at the end of where the tip is there. And then finally, what's known in the game as the fishing tackle. This is the most difficult thing to use, as you can see. If you're a little bit nervous, you get a shake on. It's very, very wobbly, this, and that takes you right the full length of the table. But it's amazing, these have been used for years and years, and virtually they've become obsolete now, because you'll see most professionals carry extensions around with them. Just to give you an idea from the cue point of view, I've got an extension here that slots onto my own cue, and that virtually does the same job as the half butt. That would take you up to the pink spot. You can have these made at various lengths. And without going to those again, you've got an extension here. This just slots on to the end of the rest. And that does the same job. So you're using the normal rest, and you're also using your normal cue, which makes life much more simple. Unfortunately, when you're playing in a real game, life is not quite so simple, as Willie Thorne is discovering. One of the secrets of good rest play is to keep the butt end firmly on the table if possible. Most professionals actually hate using rests, but no matter how good or how tall you are, they are a necessary evil. Now that's a bit unusual. Willie's becoming a bit desperate here. And this is something many people forget. If you have to use fishing tackle, always chalk the tip. At long last, Willie seems ready to play. I'll let the commentator take over.
There you see, complete mess of that.
As with most sports, the most important thing is the basics. You've got to start off correct, otherwise you develop bad habits as you go along. And just to give you, we're going to go through the stance, the bridging, and also the grip. If you take a boxer going to the stance, he would line up like this with his weight slightly forward on his left foot. If you were a shooter, you would stand like that as well. You see them doing that. And it's similar with snooker. You've got to get the comfortable position. So what you would do is, say, getting ready for the break off, you would get yourself nice and comfortable. You've got your feet roughly at a 45-degree angle. Your left leg is bent, leaning slightly forward. Your right leg is virtually straight, maybe just bent slightly. But you get yourself into a nice, comfortable position. You should be in a position that if someone come up behind you and give you a little shove, you would still keep your balance. Then you know you've got quite a good stance. After the stance, you're looking at the bridge hand. So obviously you shuffle in, but still keeping the same position, and then you place your hand on the table. Most professionals all have a similar bridge hand. If you lay your hand flat out on the table, spread your fingers apart slightly, pull your knuckles up, raise your thumb up, you've got the perfect bridge hand there. And you'll see marks on the cloth sometimes where some players actually grip the cloth to make sure that the hand doesn't slip. Your hand should be roughly about between 6 and 12 inches, it varies with different players, away from the cue ball. Then you get the cue on your bridge hand, and the idea for the shot is to keep the cue as horizontal as possible. You see some players when they set off, they've got the cue up in the air. What happens if you're striking down on the ball? You'll swerve it, throw it offline. So it's very important to get the cue as horizontal as possible. Now once you've got that right, you go to the grip on the cue. Now this varies from player to player. I mean, some players grip the cue, but you mustn't grip the cue too tight, because when you're under a bit of pressure, if you grip the cue, you'll snatch at the shot. So you want to hold the cue reasonably firm, but so as you can just slide it out from between your fingers. The main thing with it is the two fingers and the thumb, they play the biggest part. You sort of tend to grip with that. So if you're playing a forcing shot, you would pull the cue back, they would open slightly, as you can see, and then as you come through, everything would close. But having said that, some players, I remember, in fact, the year I won the championship, I was holding the cue very loose. In fact, my thumb wasn't doing anything, I just had the cue resting on the fingers. You see some players doing that. So it's just a little bit of a matter of trial and error. And once you get what feels comfortable, the main thing is delivering the cue in a straight line. So you've got the stance right. Always check this. A way of doing it is to say, put the cue on the table, sort of walk in. The cue should be roughly in the center, 2 feet. Get yourself in a comfortable position. You don't want to be too far away. You don't want to be too close. So just experiment around. But basically your weight should be slightly more on your left foot, just leaning forward into the shot. And once you get that, you're ready for action. It's just a matter of pushing the cue through in a straight line. It always looks easy when the professionals are playing, but rather than watching the shots, it's often useful to look at the technique. Steve James has an orthodox stance in cue action. So was Alex Higgins. In this situation, the cue ball is touching the red, so Alex must play away from it. Indeed, he puts the cue ball back to the other end of the table, or what is known as the balk end. Steve Davis has altered his stance slightly in recent years, standing more square on. So does Stephen Hendry, but strangely enough, these two great players are exceptions to the rule. There's no legislating for genius. But in terms of technique and cue delivery, there's no one more orthodox than Steve Davis. And everything I've said about right-handers applies equally to left-handers, only the other way around. And there's no better exponent than this man, Jimmy White.
One.
Well, now we're going to have a look at all our players' basics just to see how they shape up. And first of all, Craig is going to help me out. So Craig, if you could just come through to the table. We've got the white roughly around here as if you're going to break off. So let's just have a look at your stance. Now straight away you can see that Craig looks off balance. He's leaning right into the shot, so there's an awful lot of weight on his left leg, and it's also bent quite a lot. And he's quite a tall chap, is Craig. The other little point, you're a little bit too close to the cue ball, so you can come back slightly, not too far, roughly about 6 to 8 inches, maybe a little bit closer. But we've got to change this. This is, if you stand up again, Craig, and as we mentioned earlier, just sort of put the cue down and get it sort of roughly in between your legs. Now let's see you get into the shot again, and don't keep this foot out here, a little bit more square. Now that looks a bit better, yeah. You're slightly off balance again, so you want to just shuffle yourself over. Now Let's have a look at that now. That looks pretty good. Have a look at the bridge hand. It's quite a loose grip that Craig's got here, but nothing wrong with that for the moment. We can have a look at that as the series goes on. But now, does that feel pretty comfortable, Craig? Yeah? Yeah, well, that looks pretty good. So thanks very much. We'll have a look at Nora now to see how Nora shapes up. As I say, we've got an awful lot of ladies playing the game now, and Nora's been playing for 5 years. So let's have a look at your basics. Now you see, Nora's got a superb bridge hand here. It's absolutely perfect. So that's spot on, the right distance away from the ball. In fact, the stance is pretty good as well. If anything, Nora's probably just leaning back. So if you just move back a little bit, move everything back slightly. No, the whole feet. If you move your 2 feet, that's better. Yeah, that looks quite good. And does it feel comfortable now?
No.
It doesn't. Just try it again. Yeah, that looks pretty good there. And Nora's elbow's perfectly straight here as well. The grip's pretty good. So I can see Nora knocking in 100 break in this series. But that's perfect. Thanks very much indeed, Nora. And we move over now to Matt. I'm sure Matt won't be doing a lot wrong. Let's have a look at your stance, Matt. Well, you can tell that Matt's played quite a bit. He's got a very solid bridge hand here. This is slightly different, but that's perfect because it makes the cue very solid there. He's got his finger here right across, which is terrific, really. The right distance away from the cue, and looking at the bridge, he's very, very comfortable. And once again, the elbow is fairly straight. So Matt's got a very good stance as well, so we won't alter anything there. Thank you very much indeed, Matt. And now we go on to Walter. I'm hoping you've got a problem here, Walter, because everybody's, they're too perfect. Let's have a look at, well, that's it's pretty good. It looks very flimsy. It's better if you grip it off with your fingers. Just sort of, just flatten them out a little bit more. That's good. And bring this finger over to make a bridge with your thumb. Now keep it straight, so you don't curl it up, because, let's have a look. Just flatten it a bit. Just start off again, right? Raise it up. Try and keep this finger straight if you can. Lost respect. Now keep it straight because you've curled it up. Dead straight. Just put it dead straight. That's it. Now that's better. Now you've got your left foot too far forward here. Really, it's a little bit awkward. This is the way the old players used to play years back. Try and get more square on, like this. Similar to this, about a 45 degree angle. If you look at me, yeah. It's going to feel a bit awkward to start off with, Walter, but if you persevere with it, I'm sure you'll improve quite a bit. So just address the ball again. In fact, address the white this time, just to give you an idea. So shuffle about until you feel comfortable. Now that is much better, straight away. But if you feel off balance, just move everything over to the left or right. And try and get the chin down on the cue. I know you're getting off it. Try and get that chin right down onto the cue. Let's have a look at the grip behind. That's a pretty loose grip, but as you can see, well, you can't see the end of the cue, so obviously Walter's always played like this. His fingers are out the back of the cue. So maybe we might try and alter that a little bit. If you just leave a little bit of the cue sticking out. Put your thumb around the way you were before. Yeah, that's a lot better. Does that feel comfortable? Or? Well, that looks pretty good, Walter. So maybe we'll give that a try and see how you get on. As I say, it'll feel a lot awkward to start off with. Once you get used to it, I'm sure it'll help things along. Potting. This is what we all love to do. Nothing gives you more satisfaction in snooker than a long pot the length of the table, particularly if the cue ball comes back into a good position for the next shot. But we mustn't move too fast. Obtaining a good cue ball position will come later. For the moment, let's concentrate on potting. So now we're going to do a little exercise here. In fact, an exercise that Steve Davis still spends quite a bit of time doing even today, and that is running the cue ball up over the brown spot, the blue spot, the pink spot, black spot, and try to bring it down in a straight line again. It sounds so easy, but you'll just see how difficult it is in a minute. Now we're going to get pupils to help me out with this. Matt's going to have a go. Now you should be able to do this the way. Anybody with a 90 break, I'm expecting to get it the first time. So let's have a go. Just play it not too hard to start off with. That's perfect. Slightly at the end, but that's just a little bit to do with the nap of the cloth, which we'll be explaining about later. And once again, you hit it with a lot of bottom on the cue ball, and really hit it hard just to see what happens when it comes back. Isn't that amazing? It just shows you when you start to force the shot, that's what happens. So you've obviously hit that with left hand side. In fact, I'll just have one go myself just to see what I'll probably do the same thing. There we go, down the right side of the table. So you need to keep on practicing at this particular shot. This time we got it spot on. As you can see, it come back and hit the tip. So that's a great little exercise for all four of you to have a go at it. Just practice it. Say half an hour a day, and that will really be in your way. I'm going to have a potting exercise now for our pupils, and I'm going to use the four high valued colours. We've got the brown, valued at 4 points. It doesn't matter in this case, but we're just using these. Blue, which is valued at 5 points. 6 points for the pink. 7 points for the black. And Craig's going to help me out first of all here. And this is just going to be plain ball potting, a dead straight pot, which some people find the most difficult. So we're just going to have Craig, just take your time, don't rush the pot, just check everything, the stance, the bridge, go back to all the basics, get the chin right on the cue. And just one thing while we're here, Craig, we'll get you to concentrate on. No, just stay down, queuing up with the ball. One of the most important things is keeping your head perfectly still. And what Steve Davis used to do, him and his father, when Steve used to practice in the early days, his dad used to stand with the cue just above his head, a fraction. And Steve would play a forcing shot, and if his head come up slightly, it obviously hit the cue. So they used to do that for hours, just until Steve, when you watch him now, he plays a shot, his head never ever moves. So just concentrate on that and deliver the cue in a straight line. See how you get on, Craig. Well, that's perfect. In fact, you got a little bit of screw back, which was good as well. Once again, it's pretty straightforward. You set it up yourself there, just line it up nice and straight. But starting off, this is a good exercise because the black's 7 points, so it's nice to be able to pot the black. And that's perfect. This time he gets the white to stop on the black. That's called the stun shot, but we'll go into that a little bit later and tell you how that works. That was very good, Craig. Thanks very much. Now we're going to have the pink, and Nora's going to have a go at the pink, which is it's an angle, well, a slightly different angle to the black. But once again, it's a straight pot. So the same sort of thing, Nora. Just take your time, make sure everything's right. The bridges, that's perfect. The chin's right on the cue. And concentrate on pushing the cue through in a straight line and keeping your head still. Well, that was close. Just wobbled it in the pocket. I've done that quite a number of times myself. In fact, it's cost me a few pounds on occasion. So the same thing again, just concentrate. It's a bit like the exercise, you know, when we're running the white up and down the spots. It's a similar sort of thing. Once again, just a little bit off center here. Now watching you again, or just another thing we didn't talk about earlier, is what we call feathering the cue ball. Now this varies from player to player. You get some players who cue up and they've got this type of thing going. Other players maybe just feather the cue once or twice. It's a little bit like a golf swing, you know, when people are getting ready to play a golf shot. So maybe if you could just, feather it 2 or 3 times, then you mustn't stop. That's the whole secret of this, and you'll find you'll hit the ball dead center. When you feather it a few times, pull the cue back, stop just for a split second, and then push the cue through in a straight line. The pause is very important. 2 or 3 times, but make sure you're hitting the cue ball right in the centre. That's nice, 2 or 3 times, and then the third time just stop and then push the cue straight through. Straight in the middle. So that's, it's very important, the little feathering bit, to get that right. But if you concentrate on that. But the pause is the most important thing before you finally deliver the cue. Thanks very much. And now we're going on to Walter here. Walter's got the blue in the centre pocket. I'll come this side of you, Walter. Just check all the basics again, make sure you feel comfortable. Now, do you prefer... He was faster than Hurricane Higgins there, wasn't he, eh? We're going to try that again. It was going back to the chin on the cue. Do you not play like that at all? Do you prefer to be slightly? Slightly. You have played with the chin on the cue? Or, yeah, used to. It's not, you're not telling me it's only. I mean, Fred Davis is 77, still got his chin on the cue. Just try it with the chin on the cue. And the waggles that we were saying to Nora there, that's quite good. But if you notice there, the way you play the shot, we leave the blue in there and use a red this time. Just to show you, if you notice there, you cue up and then you just carry on. Which some players do, but you've no pause there. So if you just concentrate on 3 or 4 waggles and stop with the chord and then deliver the cue. Just see how it goes. It'll feel a little bit strange at the beginning, but 3 or 4 and then on the final one just stop. See, it's amazing you've done this for 20 years. You find it difficult to stop because you just carried on again.
Straight through.
Try it one more time. Concentrate when you pull it back, even if you think it's for a couple of seconds. When you pull it back, stop. That's it. Yeah, that's probably slightly exaggerated, but it's very, very important. You watch all the top snooker players cue up 3 or 4 times. Some do it a lot more than others. I mean, Cliff Thorburn, for example, when he's cueing a cue ball, he doesn't waggle the cue at all. He more or less keeps it there. Jimmy White will do it a different way. Find Steve Davis, who everybody seems to mould themselves on. There's 4 or 5 waggles, stops there, pushes the cue through. So it's something to work on as well. Thanks very much. And Matt, you've got the more difficult pot here. We're going to go for the long brown into the corner pocket. Once again, just feel comfortable. I don't need to tell you about your stance, you're pretty good anyway. Well, that was absolutely perfect. Tell you what, it won't be long until you're making century breaks, potting them like that. We'll use the reds now. Just set it up yourself, have another go. The reason, well, obviously because you forced it, it becomes more difficult. It's like the shot when we were going up and down the spots. The harder you hit the ball, the more difficult it is to pot. In fact, it's not a bad thing when you're practicing to force a few shots like that because it tells you if you're cueing correctly or not. Have another crack at it. Once again, slightly offline. Do it this time consciously, as if, what I do sometimes on a long pot like this, if I'm playing, what I concentrate is as if I was trying to push the cue into the pocket. You know, make sure that you push it. So just try it that way. Hit it fairly hard and just concentrate on as if you were pushing the cue through into the pocket. Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. Yeah. So as I say, it's a good little shot to practice because it's the full length of the table. So that was very good. Thanks very much indeed. Joe Johnson with a long pot almost the full length of the table. Head steady, chin right down on the cue, push the cue through in a straight line, and the cue ball moves into perfect position for the blue. Steve Davis with a similar but slightly more difficult long pot because it is angled. Another of the up-and-coming young players, Steve James, this time holding the cue ball for his next shot on the pink. Well, now we're going to move on to angled pots, and a lot of people find this very difficult, you know, when you go around playing exhibition, to say to you, how do you know where to hit the ball? Well, it looks as if there's like hundreds of places where you could hit the ball, but basically there's just 4. We've got the straight ball pot, which is the one we've been practicing before. That's an absolutely straight line into the pocket. And to help you along with this, we're going to place the red directly in front of the blue, but just use it as an imaginary ball. It's going to give us an imaginary line through to the blue. If you were to use the white ball and hit the red ball full ball, obviously the blue would go in the pocket. So this is just to give you an idea of the angle. This red here, to pot the blue, you would have to hit it 3/4 ball. So with that imaginary ball in front of the blue, if you could imagine hitting that dead center, you in fact would finish up hitting the blue 3/4 balls. Then you go on to the next red, same thing again. Imagine hitting right through the red ball. You would hit the blue ball half ball. And then finally, a 1/4 ball shot. Same thing again. If you imagine hitting straight through the center of the red, you would finish up making contact with the blue 1/4 ball, and the blue would pocket into the center pocket. So it's just a little guideline, that, just to show you where you've got to hit the object ball to pot it. So we're going to have our pupils have a little go at this shot. So I think, Nora, you should come in first. So we won't bother with the straight ball, we've already done that. So we'll replace the red with the cue ball, and that's the 3/4 ball pot. So you're hitting the blue 3/4 ball. So once again, you must make sure when you've lined it up and sighted the ball up, push the cue through in a straight line. Now I think you've sighted that right, you just come off it slightly with the cue. You didn't push the cue through in a straight line. Not to worry, we'll go on to the next one. This time it's the half ball pot. Maybe just roll it in, just to give you an idea, rather than force it, just roll it into the pot. So this is the half ball pot now. So you pick the spot on the blue where you want to hit. Just take the time, concentrate, and just push the cue straight through. That's absolutely perfect. Walter, could you just get us the blue, please? Thanks very much. Now we'll go on to the final one here. That's the 1/4 ball pot. It becomes a little bit more difficult each time you go along. So you're concentrating on hitting the blue 1/4 ball. Now that was more of a half ball shot you hit, but not to worry, you still did well. You managed to get the one in. Now, Craig, we're going to have a go with you. This time you're going to go from the other side. First shot, 3/4 ball. Now that was just a little bit, played a stun shot there, and it just sent the object ball just offline slightly. Try the half ball one. Just roll it in, just push the cue through in a straight line. Now you've overcompensated that time, and just, but don't worry, it's not easy. On the old television you see quite a few professionals missing them under pressure. Now this is the more difficult one, I think you might get this one. This is the 1/4 ball pot. And you've overcompensated on that one as well. But not to worry, I mean, it's practice makes perfect, but it's just a nice little exercise to do as well. I think it's Matt, is it? Matt's next. Which side do you prefer to play it from, Matt? Or not both? Do you want to go from the bottom end here? No, go from Right, there we go. So we'll replace the first red, and there you go with the 3/4 ball pot. Play it any way you want, stun it or just run it in whenever you feel like doing. Just sneak in there. Get the cue ball back here. Now this is amazing. With this type of shot, a lot of people think that because you're potting the blue to the right, you've got to put side on the cue ball. As soon as you put side on the cue ball, it makes the shot 10 times more difficult. But we're going to go into side later on in the series. But at the moment, all that Matt is doing is concentrating on hitting the cue ball dead center. But he's just picking the spot on the blue that he wants to make contact with, and that's what he's concentrating on. So this is the half ball pot this time, Matt. Let's see how you go on. Once again, that's pretty good. And the white as well, as a bonus. The final one is the 1/4 ball pot. Let's see if we can make it 3 out of 3. We just overdone it, hit a little bit too thin that time. But that wasn't bad, we got 2 out of 3. So thanks very much, man. And Walter bringing up the rear again. Then we get 3 out of 3 for Walter. Now take your time this time. I think you can do this pretty good. Just concentrate on hitting the white in the middle, but pick your spot. And it's a 3/4 ball pot. Don't rush it. I'll get that one. That was perfect. Well played. Now we'll go to the half ball pot. You can play it at the same speed, any speed you want. It's just to give you an idea of where you're sighting the blue. There we go, that's 2 out of 2. Could you get the blue for me, Matt? Thank you very much. Thank you. And the final one. I had a funny feeling you were going to be good at this, Walter. I knew you were going to come into your own. And finally, this is the 1/4 ball pot, the most difficult of the 3. Hang on. Didn't quite make it. If you want to become a good snooker player and to be able to make a break of 20 or 30, you've got to learn how to control the cue ball. You can be the best potter in your club, but if the cue ball constantly runs out of position, you'll lose a lot of games. But if you know how the cue ball is going to react after a pot, and you can control that reaction, you are well on the way to becoming a winner. It's all to do with the spin, or as the professionals call it, side. And to help us out here, we've got a cue ball that someone's come up with a terrific idea of putting a clock face on the cue ball. And you may find this a terrific help to you. If you can imagine the clock face, you can imagine striking the cue ball at 12 o'clock, that will give you top spin. If you strike it at 3 o'clock, that will give you right hand spin. If you strike it at 6 o'clock, that's bottom spin. And 9 o'clock, that's left hand spin. There's various other positions on the cue ball, as you can see. We'll go into that a little bit more detail later in the series. While we've got the cue ball with the clock face on it, we're going to make use of it and have a little exercise, and Matt's going to help me out with this here. We're going to go through the different side spins and top spins we were talking about, and we're going back to an exercise that we were doing earlier in the series. And Matt, if you just go through the clock face, up and down the spots again, as I said, we did it earlier, only the first shot, hit it at 12 o'clock just to see what reaction you get. You can see, with the, and that's, well, almost perfect. You could see the top spin as the ball went up the table. Now, if you hit it at 3 o'clock this time, just watch to see what happens after the ball makes contact with the top cushion. So that's right hand side, and just look at the angle that the cue ball came back at. We'll go to the other side of the cue ball this time and make contact with it, Matt, this time at 9 o'clock. and you should get the reverse effect. You see, just a little bit more spin that time on it. And this one you'll find very interesting. Matt this time is going to hit the ball at 6 o'clock, which is the sort of a shot you would play when you're playing a screw shot. But it's interesting what happens here. He's going to hit it at 6 o'clock, and by the time the ball gets between the blue and the pink spot, it'll still have backspin on it, and then suddenly it'll transfer and you'll get topspin on the ball. So let's just see what happens. Play at medium pace. There you can see it transferring just past the blue spot. Obviously, it's a very useful ball to use for practice and finding out things like this. You wouldn't be able to use this in a match, but certainly it's a useful ball to have when you're practicing on the ball. Jimmy White with a long pop. It's a dangerous shot if he misses. Jimmy plays the cue ball at 12 o'clock with a lot of top spin to bring it back off the top cushion and down the table. Joe Johnson is snookered. If he plays the shot slowly, he might leave the brown on. So striking the cue ball at about 1 o'clock, he's using topspin with a touch aside to get as much distance between the balls as possible. Now we're going to do this exercise with Walter, who plays the game for fun, but he might find this quite useful. What do you like at screwing back?
Quite good.
Well, that's not. That's putting pressure on you. But you've never done this exercise?
Not beforehand.
So we'll start off with about 12 inches away from the cue ball. So just try and screw it back over the balk line. Well, what you did is, you sort of stabbed at the cue ball there. You didn't really, first of all, you didn't hit it hard enough. And secondly, the cue stopped. So what you did was you stunned the ball. So this time, make contact with the cue ball at 6 o'clock, only this time concentrate. Do all your little waggles, your little feathers, but when you hit it on the bottom, that's better. You see, you followed through with the cue more, so it created more backspin. Right, we've now got the brown ball, some nearly 2 feet from you now, so this is quite difficult. Let's see how you go on with that exercise. Well, that's pretty good. You're back on the balk line virtually, so that was quite a good effort there. Just have another go, but don't be afraid to, really lash into it. Make sure you've got the chalk on the tip, because this is quite a valuable cloth.
It is.
We don't want someone out with a needle and thread. Right, so right on the bottom, as hard as you can hit it, and follow right through. Well, you've potted the... What a trick shot, Walter. Brilliant, brilliant. In fact, if that had have happened in a match, that would have been a legal shot. Although you jumped the ball, I don't know whether you know this or not.
I don't know.
Although you jumped the cue ball, it made contact with the object ball, and you potted it, so that's a legal shot. If it jumps over the top of the object ball, then it's a foul shot. And to make Walter feel better, let's look at this attempt at a screw shot by a famous player. Dearie me, it was Steve Davis hampered by the rest. Now in an easier situation, Steve demonstrates how to use screw to get back onto the blue. Well, I think it's time we had Nora in, and Nora's going to play the stun shot for you, or try to play the stun shot. And here we have the position of the balls, Nora. You've got, just before you get down, you've got this sort of position here, the brown's a straight pot, but you want to get on the blue in such a way as you can pot the blue and get up to the pink to give you a chance of clearing the colors up. So the idea would be to pot the brown and leave the white roughly where the brown is now. So let's just have a go and see how you get on.
So a bit centre.
Yeah, just about center, yeah, and see. Right, well, you just stabbed a little bit of that. In fact, you can see the white's gone offline to the, you missed the pot to the right side of the pocket, and the cue ball has gone to the wrong side of the blue. So if you had a pocket at the brown, you were in a bad position there. So we'll concentrate again. Right, you want to hit it, just concentrate on hitting the ball, the cue ball, dead center, as we showed earlier on. So dead center, and once you're cueing there, don't forget the little feathers, and then the nice pause, and then just pause and push the cue straight through. Well, that was almost perfect. The position's perfect, but you got the white to run through a little bit. Could you just give us the brown, Craig, just a second? In fact, that's another shot that you played there. We're going on to after this. So let's see if you can get the white to stop exactly where the brown is.
So should I hit it?
Yeah, well, you can do. I mean, you can play a stun shot with hitting it. You don't have to hit it dead center. You can go slightly below center and still get the stun shot. So if you feel you want to hit it just slightly below center, feel free. In between center and 6 o'clock. And follow through this time more. Yeah, that's almost perfect. Just the brown one more time, Craig, and I'll just show you. I mean, you can't play it much better than that, but just to get the cue ball to stop exactly where the brown is, let's see if I can manage that. So I'm hitting just below center. And the white virtually stops where the brown was. But the way you played it was quite good, so you can't really complain about that. Now, if you want to go around and just roll the blue in, as soon as you've got a good position, or so really, you're just rolling the blue into the pocket to leave yourself on the pink. Just to get the blue to virtually just reach the pocket. Well, that's not bad. We'll settle for that. At least you've got a chance now of potting the pink and getting on the black. Thanks very much, Nora, for the moment. And now to play a shot that's a little bit more difficult than a stun shot. Craig, would you like to help me out with this one? Thanks very much. So you can imagine, we'll cheat a little bit. We'll get the cue ball up, and if it's finished in this position here, and you want to get on the black, there's a couple of ways of playing the shot. What Craig's going to do for us is play the stun run through. In fact, Nora managed to get that on a couple of occasions, and that's a more difficult shot to play. So the idea is to pot the pink, try and get the cue ball to follow through about 6 to 8 inches, roughly, something like that. So well, just have a go anyway. We'll talk about it after you've played it, Craig. Let's just see how you go on. Now, what's happened there? You've played the follow through. It's like a little punch shot, a little punch shot. Similar, it's amazing, it's similar to a shot you play in golf, this. So hit it a little bit harder this time. Don't be fighting hitting it a little bit harder. Just below center, slightly below center. A little bit, not too much, screw back if you do that. You've almost got it, you've got it to go through a couple of inches. You still have a chance of potting the black there. As I say, with this type of shot, you can set this up and keep playing it until you get used to getting the cue ball through to work exactly wherever you want. So we'll go for this spot here. See if you can get through about 12 inches this time. Still punch. Just bring your hand back a little bit from the ball. See, we were talking earlier about being too close to the ball. Punch it more. Don't be afraid to hit it a bit harder. Just below the center of That's almost perfect. Well, it's gone through a couple of inches again. I'll just have a go at the shot for you to see what happens. So I'm looking the white to travel to about somewhere around this spot where the tip of the cue is at the moment. It leaves you nicely on the black. Just while we're here about this particular shot, as I said, there's a couple of ways of playing that. You find most professionals and top amateurs will play the stun run through, but there's no reason why you can't play the shot with top spin and just drop the ball into the pocket. But you find tables vary quite a bit, so professionals and top amateurs prefer to use that stun run-through shot. Let's go and pop the black and finish it off. So just a nice stun shot. You wouldn't roll this in a match. More control if you... Just like that. Perfect. Thanks very much. And now, in fact, I'm going to get Walter to come out and help me out with this particular shot. Craig, can I have the pink again? Thank you. Got plenty of... Yes, get plenty of chalk on the old tip, Walter. So what you're going to try and do here is just pot the pink, left-hand side, see if you can get up nicely onto the black.
Sometimes when I'm taking a shot like this and I go left-hand side of the ball, I often miss quite an easy shot. Is there any reason this happens?
It's quite a good point you brought up there, Walter, because in fact you see a lot of professionals, we miss pots at times, and people at home think, how can we miss such an easy pot? And the reason is you're applying a lot of side to the ball. And this is the thing, when you're starting off to play the game, Joe Davis used to say this, he said, forget about putting side on, just concentrate on potting the ball, playing ball until you get proficient enough, and then start using side, because it does make the pot more difficult. And you're quite right, because as you put left-hand side on the ball, it's going to throw it offline.
That's right. Yes, I was afraid of it.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of people as well.
Yeah, and in fact, it depends on which way the nap of the cloth's going, and it's something we're going to show later on, how the nap of the cloth affects you when you play with side. But with this one here, if you're going to hit it at 9 o'clock, left-hand side, the ball initially, although you're hitting it on the left side, will throw out to the right. In fact, it's amazing. It affects, with different cues, you get a different reaction. With a metal ferrule like we have, you tend to hit the ball on the left-hand side, it goes slightly to the right and then comes back again. With a fibre ferrule, I had a cue with a fibre ferrule, and it went the opposite way. As soon as you hit it with left-hand side, it pulled it to the left. So it's a trial and error with, especially with the
get
cue.
it right.
So what you're going to do here is, with playing with the side, just play to hit it as if you're going to pop the ball into this side of the pocket. So it's the left corner of the pocket. So just imagine the pocket being there. Follow through this time. Hit it on the extreme left. You're hitting it almost center there. Don't be afraid to put the side on. Push the cue. Well, you got the side spin, as you can see there, but what you did, you stunned the shot. Because you were hitting, you got to hit slightly above it. You'll have another go, thanks. In fact, that's a variation. I mean, there's a few ways of getting up onto the black. There is the way you played it there. You played it with a stun end side, which took it up that side of the table. But we're just playing a plain ball, well, like a follow-through shot. So hit it on the left-hand side. Move even higher up. Yeah, you can go up to 11 o'clock. You know, as I say, there's no set. You can experiment around yourself. At that time, yeah, that was much better. So you're right. It's very difficult when you play with sides. So you've got to experiment around yourself. And as I say, the great Joe Davis used to say, forget about side until you're making 50 and 60 breaks. But why not experiment around and just see how it goes? Few people practice more than Steve Davis. He seems to know exactly what the cue ball is going to do. Using the left-hand side and a little stun, he pots the pink and gets perfect position on the next red. Now Joe Johnson, potting in the other direction, but also using left-hand side, what we call check side, so that the cue ball almost comes straight back off the cushion for the next red. I'm going to play an interesting shot for you now. Quite a simple pot. Just swap the black for the pink. Place the pink onto its own spot and the cue ball directly behind it in line for the center pocket. Now this is just a straightforward little pot to roll the pink into the pocket. Pink sets off to the pocket, and what happens the last couple of inches, it just turns and misses the pot by 1-2 inches to the left. Now why did that happen? Well, the reason was, and the reason that a lot of people who watch this game, who've watched it for years and years, don't understand. In fact, a lot of people that play the game don't fully understand what the nap of the cloth can do to a shot. Now, to explain what the nap of the cloth is, the nap of the cloth runs from the balk line, the bottom here, towards the top end of the table, which is the black spot end. And if you run your hand along the nap, it's very smooth this way. If you were to run it in the opposite direction, it's quite rough. And a great explanation of this, I was once commentating along with Ray McNally, who unfortunately is no longer with us, a great actor from Dublin, a very keen snooker player, and used to commentate over in Ireland. And we were in the commentary box, and one of the professional players that was playing missed a fairly easy pot. And the reason he missed the pot, and I said in the commentary, was he was going across the nap of the cloth, playing it at that speed. And Ray chipped in and he says, for those of you at home that don't know what the nap of the cloth is, he said it's like a fur on a pussycat's back. I thought that was a great way of describing it. Now we're going to do a little exercise here to show you what the nap of the cloth can in fact do with the pot. And Matt's going to help me out here with this one. I'm going to place the pink ball over the corner pocket here. And we'll have the black on the center spot. And we'll have the cue ball here so that Matt is snookered for the pink. He can't quite get through to the pink. Now there's a few ways. Probably you'd get the professional player would try to swerve the ball around the black, something we'll be talking about later. But just to show you what the nap of the cloth can do, Matt's going to play this shot, and he's going to strike the cue ball on the bottom with left hand side, and with it going with the nap, it should curl it around the black. I'd like to have a go at that, Matt, just to see what happens.
Well, what ball I should be looking at when I'm about to make contact with the ring?
Well, that's a very interesting question, in fact, Matt. A lot of people say to you, even on a straightforward pot, what ball do you look at whenever you're playing a shot? Now, this is certain players are different, even amongst professionals. Now, Steve Davis, he focuses on the object ball, so he cues up, and he obviously has to look at the cue ball and the object ball, so his eyes are glancing from one to the other, but he focuses longer on the object ball before he just plays the shot. Now, what I do is I look at both balls, and just a split second before I deliver the cue, my eyes go to the object ball. And I tend to play a little bit like sighting a rifle, you know, you're back and forwards and sort of simultaneously, but just the last split second, I go to the object ball. So that's something you want to, whichever suits you best, really. Right, let's see how we go on with this. So you're going to strike it at about 7 o'clock, just to make it curl around the black. So you're playing to miss the black on the right-hand side. And there you can see the side, the left-hand side with the nap of the cloth is curled around the black. We'll go around the opposite side here, Matt, just to show what happens. I'll just place the pink over the corner pocket here. Now this time we're going against the nap of the cloth. You get a completely different reaction. In fact, it's opposite to the other. If you look at the shot here, you would think once again you'd have to play it with left hand side to curl it around the black. Now because you're going against the nap, play the shot with right hand side. So you're hitting the ball at about 5 o'clock there. The same pace again, and it should set out, instead of going to the right, because you're against the nap, it should curl the opposite way. Sort of dig into it a little bit more with the side. And you can see it's just started to curl round and finished up, hit the pink full ball. As you can see, we've got the ball set up here to start a frame of snooker. And one of the most important shots is the break-off shot. Now there's 3 different ways of breaking the balls. Well, basically 3 different ways. There's the first break that I used to use when I first started playing the game, and that was just a straightforward break-off where you hit the end red and take the cue ball back down the table. So let's see what happens with that. As you can see, we managed to hit the brown. The idea was to try and get the white down on the ball colour. We're probably a little bit disappointed with that, but that's the sort of break that was used in the early days. Craig, could you just help me to set the reds up again? And we'll go on to the second break. In fact, this next break that's coming up is the break off that I use myself on all my games. And it's not a bad thing to practice the break off shot as well. I was talking recently to John Pullman, who was 10 times world champion, and he says that's something that players don't think about doing, practicing the break off shot. So this is the one used by most professionals. And what you're doing here is you're hitting the end red, and you're hitting it with lots of right-hand side. The idea is to hit the top cushion, the side cushion, take the white down past the blue, in between the blue and the pink, off this side cushion, and hopefully get it over somewhere near the bottom cushion. So you're striking the cue ball roughly about 3 or 4 o'clock, right-hand side. Managed to get past the blue. As I say, I would have liked the ball to have been somewhere over here, but I'd be quite happy with that break-off shot. There's one possible red that your opponent can have a go at, but it's a bit of a risky one, so I was quite happy with that. Craig, could you just set them up again, please? Thank you. And the next break that I'm going to show you is a break that a couple of the professionals use. It's rather an attacking break, but if this one goes wrong, you could lose the frame from the very first shot. And what they tend to do is, instead of spotting near the brown, they move the white ball over towards the yellow. This time they're aiming to hit the middle red and play this with lots of right-hand side. And obviously it's going to open the reds up a lot more. But you've got to try and get the white down here. So let's see what happens with this break off. Well, as you can see, I managed to open the reds a little bit. Didn't quite get enough side, made contact with the blue. I've left a possible opening here. So if you're playing one of the top players, he could get in and pop 5 or 6 blacks from that break-off shot. So it's very important to make a good break-off shot. But those are basically 3 break-offs. Could you just set the balls up, Craig? And Walter, would you like to come in and start a frame off against Craig here, just to see how you get on? I'll set those up, Craig. You just get your cue ready. I tossed a coin earlier and Craig won the toss and will break. Now, which break-off are you going to use, Craig? What do you normally use?
I think the second.
The second red you want to. As I say, there's no, I mean, I mentioned the end red, I mentioned the third red, so you're going to play the second one. That's quite all right. In fact, you finished up, I think you hit the third red, but that's the break I was trying to do, Craig. But as you can see, he's got the white into a perfect position. The red's a little bit unlucky. They've gone a bit safe on the top cushion, but Walter in a bit of trouble here. And rather fortunate there, Walter. You were trying to get the white back down the table, I think. The bones out of that, Craig. Now this is a sort of a situation where Craig hasn't got much choice. If he was playing in a competition, I feel sure. Can you hit this red here? So he would probably just roll into the pack and play a safety shot. But, well, it's up to you, Craig. It's your shot. It's touching ball, right? Well, that's a very interesting point. Now, the referee would have spotted that. He would have come in, had a look, touching ball. Now, that's very interesting because if Craig was to play this red and move it, that would be a foul shot. That would be classed as a push shot. So he must play away from that red. So that makes things a little bit easier for Craig. So what he could do is probably just roll the ball over onto the side cushion, this side here. You can't go up the table because of this red in this area, so just play away from the red and leave the white on the cushion. looks reasonably safe there. When there is little or nothing on, most top snooker players go for safety. Steve has to be careful here not to disturb the reds too much, but at the same time send the cue ball back to the balk area. Stephen Hendry in his reply has to be even more careful because he must move the chosen red a fair distance. It's a bit like playing cat and mouse. Steve can now attempt the pot, but you can be sure he'll be hoping to get the white back down the table as well. Right, let's say we've just potted the red into the pocket, and the white is finished in this position here. So you're left with, well, what can I do? I can't really pop the brown. I can roll the yellow into the center pocket. There's no advantage with that, really. I could just roll up behind the green and snooker my opponent, but the balls are tightly clustered, so there's not a great advantage with that either. Now, this is a shot that Steve Davis, who a lot of people think is the greatest player that ever lived, a shot that I've seen him play. Rather than just roll up to the colour, what he would play is what we call, and you probably hear the commentators call on television, an attacking safety shot. So really what he's playing to do is to play the safety shot and get the snooker behind the yellow. So the attacking part of it is he's going to send the green into the reds to spread the reds up, hopefully leave one in a pottable position and get the snooker behind the yellow. So let's see what happens. As you can see, the balls have opened up slightly. Probably you could hit it a little bit harder and it might spread nicer, but perfectly up behind the yellow. So now it's not easy to get out of the snooker without leaving a red on. Where you improve your game is eliminating shots out of your game. That's playing the percentages. So it all depends on how well you're playing. Take, for example, this shot here. You've got a chance of potting the red. It's quite a difficult pot. If you pot the red, you could get onto the black. So what do? So you have a go maybe at the long red. You don't strike it that well. What happens? Your opponent steps in. You've left him in around the black. So he could pot 4, 5, 6 blacks, probably clinch the frame from that position. So it's always wise to play the percentages. If things are going really well for you and you fancy having a go at the pot, take it on. If you're struggling, play the safety shot. What I would have done would have been clipped off the red, off the top cushion, back down the table for safety. Joe Johnson would appear to be looking at a possible plant here, but it's a very risky shot. So typically he plays the percentages, has a go at the plant, but also maybe hoping to get behind the black. Joe's opponent is Alex Higgins, and later in the frame there's only 8 points in it. Alex has a chance at a difficult pot, but he ignores it and settles for the snooker. Let's see what happens. Joe gets out of the snooker, but in doing so he leaves Alex an easy red. So Alex's strategy paid off. Now we're moving on to doubles, and I don't mean scotch, by the way. I'm talking about doubles on a snooker table. A lot of players say to you, why do professionals not play doubles? Well, that's not strictly true, because it's down to the percentage again. Take this situation here. You've got one red left on the table. You're 30 points behind. So what you would tend to think, I'll have a go at the double here, because I need all the balls. If you were 30 points in front, you'd probably send the red up the table and the white down onto the balk cushion, hoping to get a snooker. But in this sort of situation, I would say, let's have a go at the double. And in fact, I'm going to get Craig to help me out. Do you want to have a go at this double here, Craig? Now the double here is the angle. If you just point the cue, you pick the cushion. It's all down to judgment doubles, really, but That looks pretty straightforward. It's going to come off the cushion at the same angle as it's pointing onto it. So it should, that can give you an idea. If you point the cue at the object ball and then sort of get a line as well, so you think there's a possibility here. So just have a go and see how we get on with the double. And there we go. Absolutely perfect. So you had a chance. You were 30 points behind, as I said. So you'd have to pot the brown if you were going to win the game, but that was very well played. Another type of double we're going to show you. Thanks very much, Craig. Nora's going to help me out with this one. In fact, this is a very risky one. We'll play it from the side of the table, Nora. Now the double into the centre pocket's a little bit easier. You've got the same sort of situation. A lot of the club players will have a go doubling into the corner pockets. Now this is more difficult because the angle is a lot narrower. But let's see if you can have a go at doubling the red into this pocket, just to see what happens.
I would cut less of the red then.
Right, so it's obviously the angle. We'll set it up so that it's coming off about the same angle. I think that's fine.
So full in the face.
That's near enough full in the face. There we go. This time you overcompensated. You've obviously got to take the chance. And what's happened with having a go at the double?
Perfect on the blue.
You're
Oh.
perfect on
The red had gone.
go in. So what you would do, you'd lose the frame. Thanks very much just for having a go at that, just to show the door. So that's sort of doubles into the centre pocket, doubles into the corner pocket. There's one other double you can play, and that's called the cocked hat double. You may have heard that phrase on television coming from the commentators, and it would be in the sort of situation, say you had a black ball fight, the black finished in this position here, the whites somewhere around this position. What do? It's not easy to play a good safety shot, and what the cocked hat double is, you're going to play the black off the side cushion here, to then hit the bottom cushion, the side cushion, and it'll head towards the middle pocket. It's a very, very difficult shot, but there is one other little aspect to this shot. If you don't happen to get it right and the black misses the pocket to the top side, you'll finish up with the top cushion. But a lot of professionals will take the risk and have a go at the double, but at the same time they're hoping to leave the cue ball safe, so you're playing the percentages again. Let's see what happens. Well, we were a long way away from the cocked hat double, but I'd settle for that any day, the result we got there. Snooker is the name of this game, and every snooker player gets a great deal of satisfaction out of snookering an opponent. Leaving the cue ball in such a position that your opponent cannot get direct access to the object ball requires skill and touch. It's a tactic often employed near the end of a game. If, say, you're 26 points behind and there are only 25 possible points on the table. But you can snooker your opponent at any time. If you cannot easily pot a red or a colour, it's a good tactic to snooker your opponent with the intention that, as he attempts to get out of the snooker, he will either fail, thus giving you 4 points or more for the foul, or even if he succeeds, he will leave you on. And here's a very interesting little situation right at the end of the game. Just pink and black left, and to help me out here I've got Walter and Matt. And Walter's at the table, is his strike, he's 14 points behind, and there's only 13 points on the table with pink and black, so he needs a snooker. So Walter, I want you to lay a snooker, just push the pink forward and try to get the white in behind the black. Oh, you've played that absolutely perfect. So now it's Matt's turn to come into the table. He's got to attempt to get out of the snooker, because if he doesn't hit the pink, that's 6 points onto Walter's score. So in fact, if Walter then potted the 2 balls, he would win the game. So how would you go about getting out of the snooker, Matt?
table and back
top
down.
of the table and back down again. Well, let's see how you go. You're going to pick a spot on the top cushion, so what Matt's going to do here is sort of up the table and hopefully hit the pink on the way back down.
Think on our friends, the red giants, the blue stars,
Well, that was a pretty good effort. It was on line, but you just didn't hit it hard enough. So in fact, that would leave the situation where Walter would be able to win the frame. Not an easy, he would need the rest, but you'd be a little bit disappointed at not hitting the pink there. So that was the one way of getting out of the snooker. In fact, there's a couple of angles you could have attempted to get out of the snooker. The straightforward way was the way Matt played it, up and down the table. You could have a go at another way, and this comes down to knowing the angles again. So there's so many different ways of getting out of a snooker. You could attempt to come off one cushion, two cushions, three cushions, and hopefully hit the pink. I'll just have a little go at that. I don't know what will happen. So I'm playing this with right hand side to spin it around the cushions. Well, I would have been absolutely over the moon with that one. In fact, I nearly got a round of applause there. Thanks very much, Walter. Thank you very much, Matt. Stephen Hendry has snookered John Parrott. John is 19 ahead. If he gets his angles wrong and misses the blue, John could lose the frame. Now, a lot of people want to know, what is a free ball? Well, just to give you a little example, we'll just attempt to get out of the snooker. As you can see, I'm snookered on the last red. I'm going to try to hit the red. It's a bit difficult, the black's in the way to come straight down the table, so I'll try to hit it coming off two cushions. Well, just misjudged it. In fact, misjudged it so badly the white's gone in the pocket. So what happens? The white comes back and the white has to be placed in the D. The referee would come into the table, he would get down and look and declare a free ball. And the reason it's a free ball is you can't hit the red ball, that's the ball on. You've got to be able to hit it on both extreme edges. In this case, I can only see the one side of the red. He would declare a free ball. Now I'm left with a choice here. I can't get down and just roll the white up behind the brown or roll it up behind the green, because that would be a foul shot. You're not allowed to snooker behind the ball you nominate. The other choice, I could play to pot the green into the center pocket. If I pocketed the green, I would get 1 point because it would be the value of the ball on. So the green would count as 1 point. After that, I couldn't go and play the red. I would have to take another color. So what I would then do is nominate a color. Say I took the blue, potted the blue, I would get the normal 5 points. If it was the pink, 6 points, and so on. So I'd be left with the situation, I'd probably pot the green, get 1 point, pot the blue, 6 points, get position on the red, and hopefully clear up and win from that situation. Well, what a break-off shot that was. You can imagine playing your opponent. He's attempted to get the white ball on the bottom cushion absolutely tight. That's where you're attempting to get the ball when you do break off. Now, Craig's going to come in and help me out with this one. Craig, as I say, your opponent's left you tight on the cushion. You can only just see the top of the cue ball, and you've got to play a safety shot. So let's see how you go on with this one. Now, just before you hit it, see, you've got the butt of the cue up in the air. Because you can only make contact with the top of the cue ball, you've got the cue up in the air. Now you're going to swerve the shot. If you hit it with a little bit of side, you're going to swerve it and either go in and split the reds up or miss them all together. So what you want to do is come down the cue about 12 inches with your right hand, and even bend your legs a little bit more and try and get the cue more horizontal. Let's just see how that feels. Because you're quite tall. How tall are you? 6'2". 6'2". I could do with your legs whenever the white's up around here. Right, so let's see. If you bend your legs a little bit more, because you're quite tall, that's much better. And not too much side, because if you put side, you'll swerve it. Now, as you can see here, just hold on a second, Craig, you see, Obviously you can't get your hand on the table to make the proper bridge. If you were to do that, you'd be off the end of the table here. So he's got to come in and experiment around which is comfortable. So really your 4 fingers are just gripping the wooden part of the cushion here. And it's a similar sort of bridge, but a little bit more awkward. So you just fiddle around till you get it comfortable. Now just attempt to clip off the red ball on the left-hand side. That looks good. Oh, that was close. But that, as I say, sometimes you see that happening. Even professionals sort of miss the ball completely. They give 4 points away. But it's better doing that than sort of going right into the reds and opening them up. So let's see if we can just clip it this time. It's the same thing. Don't put any side on it at all, and a nice follow through. Now what happened there, in fact it's not too bad, you've left a shot into the middle pocket, but what happened there, you overcompensated this time. So it's a shot just to keep practicing until you get right, because there's no point leaving the cue ball up that end of the table. You want to be back down here to play a good safety shot and put your opponent into trouble. So you can put a little bit of practice into that. Thanks,
Okay.
Craig. Thanks. And now we're going to move on from bridging when the ball's on the cushion. We're going to come to another situation. Nora, would you like to help me out with this one? The same type of thing, your opponent's broke off. The cue ball is finished in front of the green, so this is a little bit more awkward. In fact, this shot probably would have been easier for Craig to play because he's got quite long legs. Nora, you're just 5 foot and nothing. So you've got to bridge over the green. How would you go about doing this? Let's just have a look.
No, I need to get up 1 foot.
You're fully stretched there, really, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah. Well, once again, that's pretty good. You've got to have a firm bridge to get over the ball. Same sort of thing. Thumb up in the air. And let's just see you try the shot to see what happens. Yeah, that's right. True.
A bit because I'm on one leg.
Well, it's so difficult because you just stood on. In fact, that's a good point. You stood on it. You see players sometimes, not in this situation, but others where they sit on the table to play the shot. Now you've got to keep one foot on the floor all the time. You've got to keep 1 foot on the floor all the time. So you're fully stretched. So you're just going to have, it's just an awkward shot, and you're going to have a go and see what happens. Well, that's not bad, you know. Set to that one. This is one occasion that the player finds it difficult to look at the object ball as he strikes. Dean Reynolds has to get his line of aim right beforehand because by having to raise his bridge hand so high, he is looking into the bed of the table. And of course, Dean is better to be too thin than too thick. Steve Davis, bridging over the pink, keeps his bridge hand firm and steady and pots the red. Sometimes you can bridge over a ball using the rest, but here again, you can't be too careful. Jimmy White has to keep 1 foot touching the floor, and he has to be sure that neither he nor his clothes touch any intervening balls. Now we're going to move on to a shot that you often come up against. And Matt, would you like to help me out with this one? This is another, looks to be a straightforward little pot here. Pot the red in the top pocket and get onto the black. Now it looks easy, but the white's on the side cushion, so you can't make the proper bridge. So what way would you bridge to pot the red, Matt?
The loop bridge is really good.
The loop bridge, yeah. Well, a lot of people, it's referred to as the loop bridge, and Matt will just demonstrate what the loop bridge is. Now you see he's got a different style as well. He's got his fingers bent in the middle and looped it here. Can I just show them the way it'll be a similar thing, only I've got my 3 fingers there, loop the finger, the first finger over there, and it's running along the thumb flat there. Matt prefers to do it with the 2 fingers, so it's just what feels comfortable. You've got to just experiment around with it. So let's just see, this could be a good shot. If you pot the red, you're nicely on the black, well into the game there. Does that feel? Try it your own way first, just to see how. Now, that's what you would normally do. Now, try it my way, where you're running it along the side. How does that fit? Is that a lot better for you? Because the cue's running in a straight line then, isn't it?
When you're in this position, that's far better.
Yeah, well as long as it feels nice and comfortable. Yeah, that's perfect that time. Nicely on the black. And a 147 break there. This is Alex Higgins using his loop bridge in a match against Joe Johnson. He is 25 points behind, so he doesn't want to pot this brown. In fact, Alex is playing for the snooker. We're moving on now to a shot that's called the drag shot. You'll hear the commentators on television saying about the top professionals, oh, he's played a drag shot there. And it's amazing the number of people that have played the game for years and don't really understand what happens when you play a drag shot. And I've got another white here that's going to help us out. It's got a few stripes on it. It would be illegal to play a game with this white, but it's useful just to show you this shot. And also to help us out, Walter's going to give me a hand this time. And I believe you know a little bit about drag, Walter, do you? Yes. What have you done with your dress today? Right, we've got a red over the pocket, Walter. Now, you would like to stay on the black if possible because the reds are nicely spread there. Now, I want you to play this shot the way most people in the club would play it. So you just cut the red in, and most of them usually play it with a lot of top on it. So just play it the way you would normally play the shot. Well, that's okay. You didn't get the pot, but as you can see, the whites come right down the table again. And Walter played that with top spin on it, which is the way most players would play the shot anyway. Just to demonstrate, Walter, what happens with the drag shot. You hit it as if you were playing a screw shot. So I'm going to make contact with the cue ball right on the bottom at 6 o'clock. And the reason players use the drag shot is if you're rolling it just at pace to pot the red, it can turn off with the nap of the cloth. So you can play the shot using a forcing shot, but you're playing it with the drag. You can hit it much harder because you're stopping the ball in its tracks, as it were. And what will happen, I'm striking it at 6 o'clock, you'll get backspin on the ball to start off with. Just as it gets to around the blue, or just past the blue, it will then transfer to top spin, and we'll see what happens. It's quite interesting, this. So right down at the bottom of the ball, see it transferring, and in fact I've almost got the cue ball to stop dead there. So we'll let Walter have a go at this one. Just put plenty of chalk on the tip, Walter, yeah. And just make contact about 6 o'clock. Yeah, take your time, so right down into the bottom, don't be afraid of it, and follow right through. A bit easier, that's perfect. Played that very well. A lot of players asked you, how do you pot a ball along the cushion? It's quite a difficult shot, and Nora's going to help me out with this here and have a go at potting the ball along the cushion. You've got the situation here where it is absolutely tight on the cushion. So the only way you can pot that ball is to make contact with the ball and the cushion at the same time. It sounds easy, but it's quite difficult to judge. We're going to have a go at this, Nora, but just before she does, you've seen a lot of professionals do it as well. Rather than take the pot on, they would just leave the white ball tight on the cushion, send the red round the table, and hopefully get a snooker. But you've got a chance to win the match. So let's see what happens if you have a go at potting it.
Will I put some side on this?
Now, don't put side on. That makes it a little bit more difficult because you've got to allow for the side going offline slightly. So just play a plain ball. Concentrate. Cushion and ball together. Just take your time. Well, that was very unlucky. You almost got that. We'll have another go at that one. I think you just made contact with the cushion just slightly before the ball there. And you can vary the shot. You see, you can play to just drop it in, which makes it a little bit easier. The only problem has happened there, if the red doesn't go in the pocket, you've set it up for your opponent. So So you could play it a little bit harder to get down the table, but just play it again, just to roll in. Absolutely perfect that time. That was pretty good, nicely on the blue. Clear the table. Experiment around, but at the end of the day, you've got to make contact with the cushion and the ball at the same time. So you did very well there. Thanks very much, Nora. Now we're going to go on to another shot. Same shot, only this time the white's going to be in a different position. And Craig, would you like to help me out with this one? We've now got the situation where you're almost straight on the ball, and you're left with the choice, what do I do here? Do I try and get position onto the black, or maybe force the ball out, maybe get on the pink? Or what do I do? So let's have a go. What would you do here, Craig? Would you?
I think I just run it through.
You just roll the ball in. Well, just force it in, just to see what happens. So you're trying to get position. See, it's such a difficult pop. The red could go over the middle pocket, and you could finish up losing the frame. So what you've got to do is, you've got to weigh up the percentages. You know, whether to force the shot. I'll have a go at forcing just to see what happens. In fact, I'll screw the ball back. Well, I was quite pleased with that one. If I had got that in a match, I'd have been delighted. But with it being almost straight and on the cushion, a lot of the players, what they would do, just stun the red, knock it into the pocket, just wander around, up behind the black, and you've got your opponent in lots of trouble. We're now moving on to two very difficult shots. That's the swerve shot and the massy shot. You got the red over the pocket. Your opponent has left you snookered on the red, or virtually snookered. You can only make contact with the left side of the red, or you could come off the top cushion and hit it. But what we're going to play here is the swerve shot. And just to show you how the swerve shot works, first of all, you've got to get your bridge hand. You've got to raise the 4 fingers up in the air. Now you're striking down. You raise the butt of the cue up in the air as well, and you're striking down onto the cue ball. In this case here, you're putting right-hand side on it. So you're hitting it about 2 o'clock. And what should happen is the white should swerve around the pink ball and hopefully give yourself a chance of popping the red. Because you're going to the right, you've got to swerve and hit the cue ball on the right-hand side. So let's have a go at that, Matt, just to see what happens. Just take your time and relax. Just a little bit higher up the... Perfectly played there. Now moving on to the massy. Now this is a very difficult shot, and I'm not guaranteed to get this one for you. If I don't, Matt can always come out and play it. And what you call a massy shot is when you're finished up fairly close to a ball, you're snookered on the red ball. It looks impossible that because you're so close to the black in this case. So you've got to put lots of chalk on the tip for this one. And now you've got to get the butt end right up into the air. So once again, if I was holding it where I normally would hold the cue, I just couldn't get up high enough. So what you do is you come down the cue again, about 12 inches down the cue. I'm now striking down onto the cue ball, similar to the shot that Matt played with the swerve, but this time I'm coming right down onto it. So the white should shoot out to the left, the right-hand side throws it to the left, then it'll stop and hopefully start to spin back again. So, ready with your needle and thread to stitch the cloth up. And once again, you've got to follow through, believe it or not, on this shot, you must follow through. We're now going to show you the plant shot. It's amazing when we manage to get one of these shots on television. It always gets a round of applause from the audience. And really, the plant shot is one of the easiest shots to play. And to help me out here, we've got Walter this time to show you what's going to happen. So what you do is, or what I certainly do, is I ignore the second red and just play as if I was popping the first one in the pocket. and there shouldn't be any problem.
Oh, yes?
You'd probably finish nicely on the black here. So ignore the second red and play as if you were potting the first one. Now you see what happened there. You hit the first one a little bit full, well, you hit it full in the face and just sent it offline. And I'll explain just after this what did happen there. So because you're at the angle, hit the red ball, half ball, as if you were playing to pot it in the pocket. That's the first one. It's difficult
Is this
forgetting
from
it.
this
Well,
angle?
it's difficult forgetting about the other red, but just forget it's there. Half ball. That's better, yeah. Right, well, thanks very much for that, Walter. In fact, if you want to stay on, I'll just show you an interesting little shot here. Now, what's happening here, the plant isn't quite on. If you can see it there, in fact, the plant is aiming to the left side of the pocket. So you think, well, I can't get that, so there's no point in having a go at it because it's going to make contact there. Or if you did have a go at it, a lot of people would think, well, you'd have to hit the ball this way to pot it. So I must hit the red on the right-hand side, the first red. In fact, because the balls are touching, you hit the red on the opposite side and it squeezes the ball towards the pocket. Just demonstrate this and see what happens. So I'm going to hit it on the left-hand side. In the middle of a good break, Dean Reynolds has got himself into a spot of bowler. He has to make a plant along the cushion and at the same time hold position for the black. What a good recovery shot that was. Recovery shots seem to be more difficult for the club player to play. And you've got a situation here where you've just potted a red, you've finished on the wrong side of the blue. You often hear this term used in the commentary on professional snooker. He's just got the wrong side of the blue. So what do you do in this situation? The pink's a very difficult pot to take on. So the blue's the easier pot, but the white's going away from where the last red is. So you've got to play a recovery shot. And there's a couple of ways of playing this particular shot. You've got to pot the blue first of all and avoid making contact with any of the bulk colours. Otherwise you could finish up snookering yourself on the last red. So we get down to take the shot, and just to explain, there's a couple of ways of playing it. You can play a screw shot with right-hand side. That would take the cue ball in between the brown and the green, off the bottom cushion, the side cushion, and hopefully up towards the last red. You could play the same sort of shot with the opposite side, left-hand side, more of a stun shot. That would take the cue ball between the brown and the yellow and hopefully up towards the last red as well. So we'll have a go at the two shots. Once again, plenty of chalk on the tip, but always concentrate on potting the ball. That's a big failure with a lot of club players. They're thinking more of what they're going to do with the cue ball and they forget to pot the object ball. So the first thing is to pot the ball. So I'm hitting this about 5 o'clock, a little bit of screw, right-hand side, and let's see what happens. And the white is spinning. I've left myself a shot on the red. I'll try the same thing the other side of the table this time, coming between the brown and the yellow. Now this time I've got to hit it with left-hand side, so it's making contact with the cue ball round about 7 o'clock. Now the side just took it off the bottom cushion. Well, it was a little bit unfortunate there, hitting the knuckle, but I've still got a chance of potting the red. If I had missed the knuckle, I'd have been nicely up onto the red ball there. Craig, you couldn't just get us the blue, thanks very much. And another recovery shot we're going to go into here. Thanks, Craig. This time, with just the colours left on the table, you've got the yellow ball, this position here are the green, which is the next colour on, is up the other end of the table. So it's quite a difficult shot, so I'm going to have to play this with a lot of the screw and force the shot to make sure that I get the white back up towards the green. Because when you have a situation like this, you're thinking, I've got to clinch the frame from here. So it's worth putting a lot of practice into these screw shots, as I said. So a lot of bottom, hitting it at 6 o'clock. Maybe just a little trace aside this time so that I can get out from the cushion towards the green. And I'm hoping to finish somewhere in this area here. And as you can see, the white has come up into the perfect position. I should really clinch the frame from there. So as I mentioned, practice, practice, and practice. When you've cracked it, we'll see you with all the rest of the profession.
We try to please everybody. We try to toe the line. We try to pick up the pieces, yeah. They really haven't got any time. It's a pressure situation. Trying to make you see while you close your mind. Yes, it's a pressure situation. Feeling the pressure. It's a pressure situation. Trying to make you see while you close your mind. Yes, it's a pressure situation. Feeling the pressure.
Snooker is a game you can play all of your life, whether you're 8 or 80. Most clubs have a handicap system, as in golf, so you've always got a chance no matter who you're playing. At the end of the day, it's only a game, but what a nice way of escaping from the pressures of the office.